welcome back to Pros and Cons with AKA Bog and Captain 1701. We're super excited for another episode of Shuffle Treks, and this was another fun one. Today
Got
it
an
wasn't.
animated,
Sorry.
got an animated series.
I was going to say, today was not much of a Shuffle Trek per se, as I actually just picked an episode because I really wanted to watch and talk about an animated series episode with the captain, as he's never watched one before.
This is where Dex this is like original animated series from, I think the copyright on the episode was like 1973 or something when
Yeah,
these
it's like
aired.
the 70s. Yeah, early 70s was when they were produced, exactly.
Super cool.
But we went ahead and just did the first episode of the animated series, Far Beyond the Stars, or Far Beyond, or was it Far Beyond,
Beyond, no, no,
Beyond
no,
the
no.
Farthest Star? Thank you.
There we
Yeah,
go.
God, I keep doing that today. I did in my thumbnail too. But I took a lot of notes, but I'm gonna let you kind of start it off. What were your
Yeah.
impressions?
Kind of having never watched the animated series before, I was kind of worried because I thought it was just going to be super cheeseball and kind of corny. And it wasn't really going to, you'd hear the voices, but it wasn't going to capture the atmosphere of TOS, but it really does. I mean, you still have a lot of chemistry between the characters, and um, made me kind of wonder how this plot would have translated to a normal episode. And there's a lot of things they probably couldn't really do, special effects wise or plot wise, just because of with animation. Obviously, you can kind of do whatever you want.
I think that's one of the coolest things about the animated series, and they kind of leaned into it. They do some stuff that very specifically couldn't have been done with their budget in the 60s. And we see that with there's an episode where it's set on a water planet and they go underwater for the entire civilization.
Mhm.
This one also introduces the life belts, which I think made a return recently in Strange New Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. I had heard something about that, so that's kind of a cool throwback.
And it's like, yeah, those were super cool. Rather than put them like, because they'd have to do like a full space suit. Now you
it
could just do like a force field suit.
Well, it's funny because like the equivalent of like doing it currently would be like I don't even know. It's funny because I feel like it's kind of the same thing with some of these other ones where they're like it would be harder for us to like design new cartoon models and have to animate that than to just be like put a glowy line around it, and it's such a good solution,
Yeah, right.
and
I
so
love the
I liked it.
groovy. I liked the groovy intro, the new groovy intro.
Yeah.
I thought the theme song was pretty cool.
I love how they like just kind of match, the everything, but with like the paper pieces and everything.
Yeah, I like the ship in the intro flying sideways,
Yeah.
not like straightforward, but like kind of weird
Well, they had
cockeyed
it.
sideways.
They're trying to do the effect that they normally do, but because of animation, they're super cheap. They just moved it across instead of like changing perspective.
Yeah,
But I actually really enjoyed the episode. Let's dig into some notes. It kind of starts off, and they note that they're like past the farthest stars in the galaxy to do star charting, and they encounter hypergravity, which is there's so much great like Trek babble in this episode.
oh yeah,
I
totally.
found I was going through my notes. I was like, oh man, this is all just Trek babble, man. It was like cool ideas.
Hypergravity.
Yep, yep. And they find the source of the emissions, and there's no star mass. It's made of imploded matter, and they detect a second signal. And it's like, and it just says, oh yeah, they've got under 30 seconds before they collide with this thing. So like right off the bat, you've got like action going down. You're right into the story.
Plus, I mean, they only had the episode was only 24 minutes, so you got to like compact a lot of information into 24 minutes to make the story right.
It felt a lot longer to me. It felt like a full length
It did,
episode. They really did
and
a
that's
good
not a
job.
bad and that's not a bad thing either to
No,
make 24 minutes like
I didn't
work like
I
that.
didn't think it was 24 minutes until you just said that.
That's what it said on Paramount Plus. It
That
was
kind of blows
24.
me away.
Yeah, it's
Honestly,
only
I
24
felt like I
minute
watched
episode.
a full like 40-minute like
I know.
cover TV
Me
episode.
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It had a full beginning, middle, and end. Um, their only
Good writing.
chance, yeah, I was gonna say their only chance was to like enter the orbit. They nailed it. They got orbital speed, and they identify, and they find the signal coming from a second ship, and it is wild. And they state that it's dead, but it is cool. It's really kind of a far out there concept for what a ship can be. You know.
Yeah, it seemed like like when I first see it, I conjured up images of like all of the um biological entities that Star Trek has run across in space, over time.
Well, they
And I was
know
like,
it's
wait,
like
that and having never seen it, I was sitting there like, oh, that's totally like a living organism. That's not really a ship. I was like, is it going to be like a space whale pod or something weird?
I was thinking living organism too, and then they mention it's like an unknown alloy, unknown design, over 300 million years old. And Kirk kind of calls together a boarding party. And that's when we get the life support belts. And my next note was cool ship design, insect-like birth pods. And so you're right.
I wrote I wrote down it's a natural biological design, and again, since I've not seen this, I put some sort of cocoon question mark.
Yeah, because they land and they're examining it and they're like, it looks like they broke out and these were grown. And so it's kind of like it's giving you this cool mystery. And then they know that the signal stopped, which is weird, right? And they're finding all these. They go inside and they find that this section is like it's like built to collect all types of energy.
Can
And
I mention something?
yeah,
There was one cool, like, going back to kind of the chemistry of TOS. There was like a part where they're kind of like at that point where they're inside the pod and they're analyzing the energy, and Spock and or Scotty and McCoy are like, "Ooh, something's watching me," and Spock says like, "That's a human paranormal response to things that are unknown," and he gives this perfect Vulcan logic, and they're like, "Ah, this is creeping me out,"
dude,
and
my
it was
my very next note was, it feels like they're being watched. Yeah, dude, that definitely like was a moment. I thought that was a good moment.
but yeah, like with Spock's reaction to that, I thought that was perfect Star Trek
Yeah.
response, Spockian response.
Well, then they get into the next chamber and like there's artificial gravity and atmosphere, very close to like Earth norm, and they notice that they can't communicate any longer, and their phasers are drained. It's like the control room, which is like the source of this interference, and then all of a sudden something starts banging on the door it wants in, and it's trying to like break in, and they're noticing all these things like the systems were coming back online by collecting power from their visit, motion, energy, sound, and converting it into energy, and so it kind of started powering back up with their presence. And they bring it up, and you get this lost message that they start trying to translate as this thing's getting in, and it's this old weird insect like species, and the translation is like danger, this Death Star, we're here to trap this dangerous creature that is on board our ship. We've decided we must destroy our ship to trap it here, right? And they at that point they call for a beam out, and we get Mr. Kyle with an awesome like mustache. I love the like 70s
Mhm.
like handlebar mustache.
Right.
And then he notes that something else came back with him, and it like escapes into the ship before he can beam it back off. And
I
so
liked I liked I liked too when they beam it up into the ship. It just has that maniacal laugh, like ha 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 ha.
just
And
like a glowing
of
field.
course, it's just like a green, like fuzzy blob or whatever.
Right, which is totally like TOS Star Trek. It's such a perfect fit.
If this was a live action episode, they would have still made it just a green fuzzy block too.
Well, and they start losing systems, and they're kind of trying to, they're slowing the uptake of figuring out what's going on exactly. But we do get this moment where we are introduced to another super cool piece of tech, the automatic bridge defense system. It's like this little
Yeah.
pod that comes out of the ceiling, and it's like, and it's like, oh, that's a
All
cool
the
idea. They've got an automatic system to keep them safe under an attack or something. That's kind
all
of
the
different.
phaser beams.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like something that I don't think they ever had that in the original
it came out, and I was like,
TOS.
oh, that's cool. There's several times that could have certainly come in useful in other series, you know. And then, of course, this use we instantly see it taken over and used to great effect against the crew. So maybe that's why it's
Yeah.
not in future ships. They're like, oh, we got to take that out in case we get bad AI. It keeps zapping our guys, man. That's gonna be my in canon, my in head canon explanation for why there wasn't an
It,
automatic bridge defense system on the Enterprise D.
it makes sense. Like it would have probably killed the crew like 1,000 times over.
They're like, we'll weigh that one out. But that's when he like told Scotty, you'd mentioned this area earlier, to go arm the self destruct. Or I guess that was
Yeah.
the edit was the last episode or whatever it was with Sulu and Scotty. But yeah, he he totally tells Scotty to get down to engineering and arm the self destruct. But like deck life supports on 5 and 6 gets cut. Um, he tells Bones that the engineering core is going down. And as they're heading that way, they come across Scotty, who's like getting crushed in a hatch, and he's like, "Oh, and they're like, they got to cut him out."
But this
And
the force field life belt is saving him.
yeah, yeah, but it can't last that long, you know. Yeah, otherwise it would have like squished him, I guess, by now.
Yeah, probably cut him in half.
Yep. And then it blows up its old ship. They phasered it, and they're like, I don't know what happened here. The phasers just are acting on their own, you know. And it's gone, and they're finally starting to realize that they're losing control system by system. And Kirk takes drastic action and asks Spock to like put a protective field around the navigation console. And it's they only got enough juice to set up around there, but it keeps this magnetic being from interacting with the console and keeps it safe, right? And there's that leads to like this whole section. It's my nose attacked by the ship systems, but that's when they start. Kirk starts getting zapped. Obey,
Yeah.
obey. Bzz,
You
bzz.
know what it you know what the alien sounds like exactly?
Hmm.
A Dalek
I
from
just say
Doctor
it
Who.
reminded the Daleks. Yeah, exactly.
Like
Obey.
I mean like exactly like a Dalek, and that my Doctor Who brain, I was just hey, that's like a Dalek. And then Kirk like on the console just getting, is he being protected from the force field again?
Yeah,
Because there
so
were
he
like
was it was
two.
shooting him, and he's got the force field, and he takes the one belt and throws it over the console to protect the
Yeah.
console from the system. So now the console, the alien can't get to it because of the field Spock set up, but now it has the force field over it too. And we get one of the lines where one of my favorite I wrote down. They call it a primal magnetic force of energy.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty
Hecky.
good. Yeah, right.
Recky sound.
And he asks Spock if he can calculate the escape trajectory in his head, which Spock's like, "Yes, I will need some time. Let me go assist somewhere else." You know, right?
Right.
And we get the note that they can reproduce by taking over other ships. So they know they
Like a
can't let this.
parasite.
Yeah, exactly. And so they know they can't let this thing get out of there. And so that's when Kirk does his bold move, and he jumps into the protective field around the navigation console and just slams it into the middle to set a course for collision course with the Death Star. And I love that the Star Trek had a Death Star in it before Star Wars, 5 years before Star Wars was released. I'll note.
Yep.
Um, and the alien starts freaking out. He's like, "What are you doing? You gotta stop, bro!" And Kirk's like, "Nope, nope. We're gonna just ride it on out here." And so the alien panics and flees to the planet and almost immediately realizes his mistake because he's like, no, don't leave me. Hey, I'm so alone. And then Kirk's like, Missionary, we're back to charting stars.
I love that too because I wrote down the Enterprise crew is just like, fuck that thing. Like they don't even bother
Rowdy.
to like negotiate and be like, well, where can we take you? Like, where are your people from? You
Yeah,
know?
here we'll leave a communications thing so you don't feel so alone. Or they, and
It's
I
like,
was kind of
no.
surprised they didn't leave like a. I was expecting him to leave a probe that was going to warn
Yeah.
everybody to stay away, and I was going to be like, now they're really isolating him. But no, they were just like, peace, back to the charting stars. They're like Federation ships, stay away from this thing. Anybody else, meh.
I wondered too if since this was like only a 24-minute episode, if had it been like the standard 45-minute one, if they would have negotiated with it or come to a conclusion where they take it somewhere and leave it with its people or
Maybe.
some kind of thing like that. But I don't know.
I honestly thought
Because
it was
every
like the perfect length.
Yeah, I do too.
It was just the perfect little dose of Trek.
Good writing and like they executed it really well. And I mean the voices were great. You
I think
still you still had the essence of the characters, even though they weren't like William Shatner on screen or Nimoy or anyone. Like you still got that those were the actual characters.
yeah, dude, it 100% just felt like a continuation of the series, and I think like a lot of the same people worked on it on the back end, a lot of the same writers. It truly feels like Star Trek.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm looking forward to seeing more of those. We'll keep them in the shuffle mix here, and sounds like we might do one in person or something next time. We'll see.
Probably next Friday. Yeah, if you're interested.
But yeah, I enjoyed this episode. We've been hitting some awesome ones, so we'll leave this up on the tracking here, and otherwise, we'll just catch you guys next week.
Yeah. See you later. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for tuning in. Let me go over to our outro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.